Deep within the human consciousness lie four types of clinging, as described by the Buddha, each capable of enslaving the mind and leading to suffering. These are clinging to sensual pleasures, clinging to views, clinging to rules and observances, and clinging to the doctrine of a self. Clinging to sensual pleasures manifests as an excessive pursuit of gratification, where one loses reason, harms oneself and others, falls into despair, and even commits violence in a frantic desire for satisfaction. This type of clinging is relatively easy to recognize. However, there exists a more subtle form of dependence that eludes the attention of many: clinging to views. This topic requires a lively, flexible, and open mind for its comprehension. Surprisingly, even educated and spiritually developed individuals often fail to recognize its danger and neglect it. The Buddha noted that many focus on understanding clinging to sensual pleasures, overlooking the depth and complexity of clinging to views, rules and observances, and the doctrine of a self. They fail to see how these three types of clinging manifest in their lives and how they influence their perception of reality. And this is where it gets interesting. What lies behind this elusive form of clinging? What dangers are hidden in attachment to one's own beliefs? And how can one break free from these shackles to attain true freedom and wisdom? The answers to these questions will unfold in the following narrative, but it can already be said that the path to liberation requires deep self-analysis and a willingness to question one's most cherished beliefs. Let us delve into the world of human beliefs and try to understand their essence. Each of us forms our own system of views, which serves as a compass in life. Some believe in an afterlife, while others are convinced of its non-existence. Some see capitalism as the root of all evil, while others consider it the engine of progress. Questions about the nature of consciousness also divide people. Is it merely a product of brain activity, or is it something more? Sporting preferences, religious beliefs, scientific theories all become subjects of personal convictions. Some unconditionally believe in the existence of an almighty God, while others reject this idea. Everyone chooses their own spiritual path, considering it true and others false. Even within one religion, disagreements can arise, as in Buddhism, where followers of Mahayana and Theravada hold different viewpoints. There is no consensus on teachers either. Some we consider wise mentors, others misguided. And this is normal. Each of us has our own reasons for forming certain beliefs. Behind them lie arguments, logical reasoning, and personal experience. We are ready to discuss our views for hours, share them on social media, write articles and books, and defend our point of view in dialogues. And this is our inalienable right. This is the diversity of human thought, and there is nothing reprehensible in it. However, difficulties arise when encountering alternative viewpoints triggers a storm of negative emotions, such as anger, hatred, and contempt. One becomes consumed by these obscuring feelings and begins to unleash them on the object of their dislike. Openly criticizing, backbiting, spreading rumors, and writing accusatory materials in various formats. In situations where someone holds different beliefs, there arises a desire to silence them, achieve uniformity of thought, or subject them to punishment, exile, or even physical elimination. The ability to engage in constructive dialogue is lost, and the willingness to defend one's beliefs at any cost, even transgressing moral norms, increases. It becomes impossible to accept that others may think differently, even if their views cause no harm. The Buddha called this phenomenon clinging to views, emphasizing the difficulty of freeing oneself from them. Few manage to shed these shackles, and even the most developed, educated, and spiritually mature individuals often find themselves unable to do so. It is important to note that abandoning clinging to views does not mean abandoning one's own beliefs. One has the full right to adhere to them if one considers them good, faultless, and leading to well-being and happiness. The Buddha encouraged following those principles that in one's personal conviction are true and beneficial. Secondly, having one's own beliefs does not preclude the possibility of constructive dialogue and discussion. A competent, calm, and polite exchange of opinions, especially in response to a direct question, can be extremely useful and contribute to broadening horizons. Thirdly, it is important to emphasize that having different views should not serve as justification for violence or infringements on personality or property. Modern interpretations of tolerant ethics sometimes reach absurd levels, allowing certain individuals to commit unacceptable acts under the guise of different views. However, neither Buddhism nor any other worldview calls for the unquestioning acceptance of violence. If someone, justifying their actions with their beliefs, begins to commit acts of violence, robbery, or harm, the victim has every right to self-defense. But in situations where beliefs cause no harm to you or those around you, why not allow them to exist? This simple thought, upon deeper reflection and self-analysis, can reveal a hidden rejection of others' views. It is quite possible that a subconscious desire arises to condemn, criticize, and accuse those who think differently, labeling them as heretics and fools. Perhaps even listening to discussions about the need to abandon excessive attachment to one's own beliefs causes irritation and anger. The sutras state, considering one's own opinion to be the highest, a person compares it with what others consider to be the best and asserts that the others are worse, thereby not overcoming polemics. One who clings only to their own opinion and considers the others to be worse is themselves imprisoned by attachments. Buddha emphasized that rigid thinking harms both the individual and their environment. Throughout human history, people have committed monstrous acts in pursuit of base sensual pleasures. However, no less evil has been committed in the name of various beliefs, be they minor disagreements or fundamental. Ideological contradictions. An important aspect is the ability to calmly accept different points of view, which is one of the reasons for the peacefulness inherent in Buddhist philosophy. The absence of a desire to forcibly impose one's beliefs on others, especially those who do no harm, is a manifestation of common sense. The problem lies not only in the ethical side of the issue. A person who is painfully attached to their views suffers from it themselves, experiencing irritation and tension when someone in their opinion is wrong. Such a state, arising regularly, negatively affects their well-being. Often one hears the expression righteous anger, but anger is always anger. Defense against attack is much more effective in a state of calm and composure. Anger is like a coal that a person grabs to throw at another, burning themselves in the process. Moreover, a person obsessed with their beliefs spends an enormous amount of time and energy trying to prove their rightness to others. If this energy were directed towards constructive goals, how much good could be done for themselves and for society? Narrow-mindedness poses a serious danger to scientific progress. The history of science knows many examples of scientists who, entrenched in their beliefs, rejected new, confirmed facts, stating that such a thing was simply impossible. However, scientific discoveries often turn our understanding of the world upside down. What seemed unshakable suddenly turns out to be wrong, and the absurd and illogical becomes reality. Many modern discoveries testify that the universe is arranged quite differently from what our everyday logic suggests. A true researcher cannot afford to deny proven facts. Another common form of rigidity manifests itself in the fact that scientists do not even bother to look in those directions where, in their opinion, there can be nothing of value. True scientists are distinguished by their insatiable curiosity. They openly admit their ignorance when it exists and constantly allow for the possibility of the most incredible things. It is this approach that allows them to move forward in their research and to move all of humanity forward. If it were not for these people, we would still be living in caves and using primitive tools. Inflexibility of thinking poses a serious threat to philosophers, spiritual seekers, and practitioners, especially to them. If this is somehow explainable for people who have not received an education, or even for some elderly scientists who find it difficult to adapt to new ideas, then for practitioners, clinging to their beliefs becomes an insurmountable obstacle to progress. The sutras wisely emphasize the importance of abandoning the creation of rigid views based on knowledge, precepts, or good behavior. A person should not consider themselves equal to others, worse or better than them. Having discarded preconceived opinions and stopped clinging to them, they are freed from dependence even on knowledge. By not entering into disputes with those who hold opposing points of view, they cease to rely on various views. It is then that true freedom arrives. The shackles of excessive attachment to one's beliefs fall away, and life becomes much easier. A person becomes a kind of superhuman, able to remain undisturbed when hearing or reading others' opinions. People around are astonished, exclaiming, "Look, someone thinks differently, yet they are calm, relaxed, and not at all opposed. How did you achieve this?" The secret lies in loosening the grip you have on your own beliefs. By freeing yourself from this burden, which you have been carrying, you experience an incredible sense of freedom from the pointless struggle against something that causes no harm to you or others, something that exists only in people's minds. The enlightened Buddha spoke wisely. When ignorance recedes, giving way to true knowledge, the spiritual seeker is freed from the shackles of preconceived notions. And when they are free from these shackles, their mind is not tormented by agitation. Indeed, the ability to remain unperturbed when confronted with another's opinion opens up horizons of limitless possibilities. There is a genuine respect for those around you, an ability to rejoice in their successes and achievements as if they were your own. Instead of bitter arguments and fruitless discussions, there arises the ability to engage in dialogue in a respectful and constructive manner, exchanging arguments and viewpoints without hostility. Such dialogue concludes without painful reflection and anxiety, allowing you to return to your life, unpoisoned by bitterness and disappointment. Having freed yourself from the power of preconceived opinions, you cease to wish evil upon others or cause them harm, realizing that we are all connected by invisible threads. But most importantly, you yourself attain inner harmony and peace. Rid yourself of anxieties and worries, becoming happier and more serene.